I don't know what to say about them. I really don't know what to say about them. Um,
No, I don't know. I don't know.
don't know what to say about them. Uh,
No. But yeah, but I support. He's my friend, my colleague. I support him. I support him. You know.
well, that's good. Anything they
Yeah.
can do. Like I say, I've heard a few rumors. I don't believe in
Right.
listening to rumors. I like to talk directly to the person and come up with
Right.
something.
Right.
But people have been sending me texts and
Yep.
inboxing me different things, and there's customers and stuff like that there that
Sure.
has tried to reach out to me, but
Right. Right.
I would prefer to allow him to reach out first so I
Thank you.
can get more information.
Right.
Myself and Mr. Clifton said that we want to speak to him first because
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
they've been reaching out to us trying to get us to give
Hmm.
some feedback on the matter, and we're not, I can't give no
Yeah.
feedback because I'm not aware of what's going on.
He's gonna welcome your invite, and he's gonna be so happy to come on and tell. Now, I don't want to really go into anybody else because I don't want to seem like I'm I don't dislike anyone.
Right.
But people get upset for all types of reasons. And then sometimes people don't want to tell the truth what they're upset about. But I will tell you, I was present like we are right now with a couple people, so I know what happened and why they're upset. But then they just chose to go the vicious route. I don't understand that. I don't know.
Again, I don't have all the facts, and I don't like to
Yeah.
speak on things that I don't have all the facts to.
Right.
I definitely appreciate what you're saying and everything,
Sure.
but just at this point, I can't really say
There
anything.
you go.
I will say that I have been receiving things from people and reviewing things from people. I would
Hmm.
like I would like for us to be in the perfect world and everybody get along.
Sure.
Um, um,
Yeah.
I will say this year though, that I am going to look into it. I'm definitely going to look into it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to turn
Yes.
no blind eye on it. Um,
Right.
but we do have some information, and we feel like we believe. We're not going to say we believe. We look at all
Sure.
information, consider all information. Then we go from there. That's
Yeah.
what we'll do. So
And
um,
I'm so happy you are, because I know you'll tell the truth.
yeah. But so what with that, we're
Uh-huh.
gonna, we gonna kind of move on a little bit.
Coronavirus.
um, Before I get into that, I wanted to speak to Miss Bambi. This is the young lady that we spoke about last week that had the boyfriend that's incarcerated.
Oh yeah. Yes.
There she's there. That's her there with the pen and paper.
Sorry.
You okay? We know you're at work. You multitasking. We definitely
Woo.
appreciate you being here with us.
And
However,
she,
and
she's in the
whatever.
heat.
Yeah, I think she's in
Woo.
the air conditioner. You air conditioner, ain't you, baby?
Yeah, it doesn't really work though. So I mean, it's better than being outside. So.
Okay. All right. Well, so a question: have you had a chance to speak with your boyfriend?
Yes, I have.
And
I actually talked to him today.
did you get a chance to speak to him about what we discussed in the week before last?
I did talk to him a little bit about it. I had asked him why he never got the chance, why he never went and got his GED. And to be honest, he said the reason he never really put effort to it is because he was in and out of trouble, and he really
He didn't have time to do
never,
it
I guess,
because he's
never.
in the hole. He's in the hole. He's going back and forth in the hole. He didn't have time to do it
Yeah,
from the hole.
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now, and,
Yeah.
and that's understandable. We all went through that phase when we go in. My question to you is, um, based on the information that you presented to him, what was his decision from this point on?
We actually have been talking about it a little bit more, and I did tell him like he needs to get his GED. I try to make it seem like where like you might really need that to get a job out here. So like
Ah,
he has about, like I said, he has some time. So
no, that's the
I'm
wrong
hoping
answer,
that he'll
Bammy.
go and get it.
Bammy. That's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. That thing that he has some time, that's the wrong answer. That means that time can be used wisely. That one of the things that we discussed was time management. I think you was on that as well. So you have to utilize your time in a wise way. You know,
There
um,
you go. Yeah, yeah.
so you can't say, hey, it's not good to say. I can't say what you can't say. It's not good to say that he has some time. That means he has time to go get his GD. That means he has time to go get another trade. That means time he got to go get another skill. So you're right. He has some time. Let's utilize that time correctly. He can't come home without a GD and think he's going to get a good job. That's not going to happen. He can't come home without a skill and think he's going to have a good job. That's not going to happen. You seen the transformation I made from coming home, but I had a bunch of stuff, a bunch of educational accomplishments behind me to support me. It's okay. And so I was able to. I understand you at work, so we give you
It's a,
we give you that pass. We give
hey,
you
yeah,
we definitely appreciate you being here. That's the main thing. Uh,
yes.
um, but if he don't have nothing to work with, how do he expect the employees to work with him?
Yeah. I think. I mean, I know I can't force him to go and get it, but I'm hoping and I'm trying to encourage him to get it while he's been there. So.
All right.
Do you mind if I say something?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Go ahead.
I want to just share with you just my experience with my him and I are not married, but we've been together 14 years now. And I said to him, listen, now he's graduated, but he has a drug charge, and he's had previous drug charges. And I said, it's time for a change. You can't come home. You come home out of prison and you have all these drug charges. What are we going to do? So he's been working in a library, and he has decided, I found out you can do everything online, even get your GED. You can connect him with a school. And now I'm not sure, Mr. James could probably tell us, if you're in a hole, can you get mail? Do you know?
Yeah, you definitely get your mail. You get your mail.
Okay.
You get
So
your mail.
if he did it through the mail, that would give him something to do in there. You could do everything in the mail, because I'm signing Damon up for law classes, paralegal, and they're gonna mail it all to him in the mail.
Okay, so which school are you which school are you signing them up for?
Now I'm gonna go. It's in PA, Allen, PA, and I believe it's
Stratford. Black Law Institute.
Yes, you got it.
Black
now
Law
it's going to
Institute.
cost me a little bit of money.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that school. I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so is that a pretty good school?
Yes, it is. It's reputable. But I think it's a certificate school. It's not one where he actually get credit. However, I've learned that you get life skills credit. So even though if he takes it, it's not a waste. So he can because you can go to college like I did. The amount of time I done it, and I was doing law in there. So I can go to a college and say, hey, I've been doing law for 20 years. And they'll give me college credits based on my life skills. They call it life skills credit. So it won't be a waste to him. But I went that route because of financial reasons. I had an interview with Mr. Daniel Barron, and he has another organization, and we were speaking on an organization called Unicore, which is basically a slave wage place inside of the prisons. You start off at 23 cents an hour, but it enabled me to make $200-300 a month, and I can pay for my courses. It's because it was all about taking the burden off of my family. Yes, I could have went to my family and asked them to do it, and I'm sure they would have done it.
Right.
But if I could take a burden off of you, I want to do that.
There you go.
So my point is I am familiar with it, and I think it's like roughly, it may have went up, but it was like $800-900 for the course, for the complete course. And and it's like 14 different areas of law: family law, criminal law, civil law. So I'm familiar with it. It is a good course, and it is a good start. So I commend him on that, because he's not just doing anything. At some point, at some point, I'm sorry, at some point, what I'll do is
No.
I'll start looking into other things that he can do that won't be cost effective
Okay.
to give to you
Well,
once he
thank you.
complete that course. Once he complete
Yeah.
that course, I'll do that. But
Well, yeah. Well, and that's it. Just got me thinking. Can you do that with your GED? Can you do that online?
it's not online. What they call it is a correspondence course. A correspondence is like you said, they mail everything to you. You can even get
Okay.
your Bammy, you can even get your high school diploma through a correspondence course. You can pay
Okay.
for it and he can take everything on, and everything and get a high school
Mhm.
diploma. The only problem with those type of class things is you have to find one that is accepted all nationally. Over the United States, because sometimes you'll take a class through, for example, it's an institute called Stratford Career Institute. They may not be accepted as a reputable school. So you have to do your research on the school and figure out, if where how much recognition their credentials have. But you can do everything through a correspondence course. Um, the college courses you can do, the high school you can do a lot of things through correspondence.
Mhm.
But see, like with the whole thing with the GED, like now I'm thinking about it, like the whole thing with the coronavirus and stuff, like it would have to be correspondence like through the mail because they like stopped all programming. Like they have like for instance, he has one program, a violence one, where it's in that like he just has a booklet that he does, and like they watch like videos on their tablets and stuff. They have a channel where they're like the instructor or whatever goes over it, but like he's out of his cell maybe 2 hours a day because of it.
Everything
Mhm.
has changed because of this pandemic. A lot of things have changed because of it. I get that and I understand it. And that's why I was having an interview with the gentleman again, Daniel Barron. And he was telling me that no, we were discussing how prisoner has rights. And yes, prisoners has rights, and they have some good prisoner rights books out there. Um, but based on the interest of justice or based on the interest of the prison, your rights can be superseded. Because by law you're supposed to get at least 1 hour a day of recreation outside of your cell. But if something happens and they need to gain control of the prison, they that's out the window. So you don't always get what you're supposed to get. And of course we'll uphold it because they got to keep security comes first. So a lot of things are disguised under security. No, it's because he's out, because of the coronavirus is out. And this is what the topic was: how the cause and effects of the coronavirus inside and out. Because they're out, it is out. Um, they're not letting people get in classrooms and be in groups and all that stuff. They're trying
Right.
to they're trying to um keep everybody separate, everybody distant, in order to control the spread of the virus. So um, that's why they're not doing that. Correspondence at this point, in my opinion, would be something great to do because because it doesn't stop him from or prevent him from doing what he needs to do.
Nope. Come on, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Clifton?
What's up, man?
Now, that's we were speaking to Bambi, the young lady in the uniform up there. Wait for him, Bambi. Uh, that's the one husband that's a fiance that's incarcerated that we
Right.
extended help to. And I was asking her to give us I was asking her, has she spoken to him and somewhat give us an update of what's going on. And she was saying that and which is true, this, I know that because of the coronavirus, the educational department is not accessible.
Right.
Lisa here was telling me about she was helping her fiance or her husband. Um,
Damon.
yeah, Damon. She was helping Damon get a correspondence course through what is it, Blackstone Black Law School,
Yeah,
law school.
Blackstone.
Blackstone Laws. Yeah.
Blackstone Law School. She said she's doing that. So we were sharing with Bammy that you can do the same thing through a high school diploma. The gentleman was saying he hadn't taken his GED. She asked him why he hadn't taken his GED, and he was saying he hadn't taken it because he had been getting in trouble. And I explained to her, at some point, everybody goes through that phase in jail where we get in trouble. Mine was in the beginning. Normally it's in the beginning, and it don't extend 20 years. Not mine, but
Right.
everybody's different. Everybody's different. So we had to work with everybody when due time comes. And at this point, I'm suggesting going back to what I was saying, Bambi. You can get him a high school correspondence course, and he can take his correspondence. He can get the high school. As long as he does that, then he can go on to other college courses, as like Lisa is saying, and he can go from there. Um, um, that might be something to look into. And I understand that you're doing all you can. You know, but I encourage you again to make sure you give him our contact information. Because if he wants to help, we're gonna definitely give him the help.
Now, see, he wanted me to ask you too, because we do the Zoom visits, and they're usually like early in the morning. Do you think maybe one day when I have one, you can join in and maybe talk to him a little bit?
You can call me anytime, Bammy, and I'll join in. I have no problem with that.
All right.
And I as well.
What I'm gonna do is put your number up and give her your number and stuff. You have yeah, she got a pen with her. She was using it earlier. How you doing, Daniel? I was just speaking of you.
Yeah, let me see here.
You're unmuted.
Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, hey, good to see y'all, man. It's great to catch up.
Likewise.
Oh, no.
I'm going on.
No problem.
I was speaking to them. I was telling them about the interview that we had done, and we were speaking of the unicorn, and I was telling them how the unicorn slave wages, and how really it's a means to an end, but you need to do something better with that. If they were paying the inmates minimum wage, then that would at least minimum wage. That would be better. Right now, 23 cents an hour, 46 cents an hour, $200 a month. That that's no good. It's no good. But a lot of us utilize it to accomplish our goals because we don't want to put the burden on our family. That doesn't negate or take away from the fact that it shouldn't be there. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But
yeah, somebody could work an entire month just to get a Snickers bar. I mean, come on. Like what?
Right.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah. It's just insane, man.
No, what's really insane is the profit to pay ratio. It's not insane that we make that much because like where James and I work, it was more than anything else on the compound. But the profit to pay ratio is ridiculous. Like me working in the business office, and Jane has worked in the business office too. I did procurement and I did finance where I did the officer's salary and all the pay, like for all the production orders, like the profit per production order. And it was ridiculous, man. For like 3 or 4 years in a row, we made, I think the less we made was like 33 million. Most we made was 39 million. Of course, they gave us our annual cookout and different little pay. They had little incentives for us working there, but still, they made 33 million a year. 33 plus million a year, 4 years in a row. You know what I mean? And it shut down because one of the staff members were, all the contracts, whenever a unicorn is, they try to hook their friend or their homeboy up with the contract. Where in Beaumont, it was the paint. One guy, he was the assistant factory manager, and he got one of his friends to open up a paint shop so he could sell the BOP paint that we used to use to spray the military helmet. You see what I'm saying? So he had a contract selling the paint, and then after they sent the paint to HP White to get tested, the paint failed. So they told him that they couldn't buy paint from them anymore. They had to find another vendor for paint. So the guy whose homeboy couldn't get it right in time, what they did, they took all, he was still buying paint from him. Half of the production order would go to him and half would go to the other company. They would take the two paints, olive drab green, and mix it together and thought that was going to cure it. So they sent what happened was one of the soldiers over in Afghanistan ended up getting killed because they had something in the paint that could be tested with some kind of big goggles that they had, and it was singling them out. So a soldier got killed and it came out. They shut the plant down within 2 months after the soldier got killed, after Intel found out that, he was found because of a defective paint that was in it. So when they did the criminal analysis on the paint or the forensic science on the paint, they found out they were still using the same paint, that they just had mixed it with another paint. That's the only reason they lost the contract. We were working 24 hours a day. 7 days a week. You know, for 4 years.
You
You
know,
know what I mean?
you
Huh?
know, I don't think that people really realize of what we do and how it is that the unicorns actually stay afloat. And when you hear about these slave wages and these horror stories that go on about this here, you know, it may come to mind, well, why haven't they closed this now? Why haven't they why haven't they investigated that? And it's because the Bureau of Prisons classify it as a program, as if they're teaching us skills or they're teaching or we're bettering ourselves. It's supposed, and they even have a mission statements that say that, you know, they're preparing us for society by having a meaningful job and all that stuff there. However, you know, the jobs that we're doing are jobs that um are jobs that, on the street. If I was doing it, I'm getting paid $100,000 or better. Like
Easy.
easy, Mr. Clifton. Like he said, I was a payroll clerk at one institution where I did payroll for over 500 inmates, including the staff. I programmed the Chronos system that is used widely in the world today. I programmed a lot of things for them. I'm familiar with all type of payroll systems. You know, of course, I went to school for accounting, and I had Unicorn pay for it because they do offer, or they pay for some of it. They offer a scholarship if you've been there, whatever the case may be. But they're taking advantage of us. They're raping us because, again, if I'm doing payroll for 500 inmates, over 500 people in 3 different prisons, you know, and I'm doing payroll for the staff, you know, what would I get paid doing that on the street? Well over $100,000 a year, or at least up in almost 6 figures. You know, so they're definitely raping us. They're definitely doing that. I'd have been the quality control lead man, the head quality. Other than the staff, I was the head guy in quality control in a mattress factory in Atlanta, USP Atlanta. So you know, the jobs that they're giving us are not, you know, the small jobs where we just making postcards or mailing postcards or stuff like that. These are actual jobs that they're filling with their inmates and saving money from having to pay staff in order to make a bigger profit. Again, I was telling you that the unicorn in Atlanta was making anywhere from 23 to $30 million a month, a 1 month. And they had 3 factories inside of one factory. They had a mail bag factories where they had a contract with the United States Post Office. They had a contract where they had with the military where they was making their clothes, and then they also had where they made the mattresses for any government agencies, hotels, for the soldiers overseas or whatever the case may be, mental hospitals, anything dealing with government that required a bed, it came through them. You know, so you know, the unicorns, definitely they need to look into it because, you know, they are giving us a skill because I came out and used that. But at the end of the day, I'm not getting compensated for what I need to be compensated for.
I think one thing I want to add that, I've done a lot of research and just, I've had 6 years of talk shows, just talking with people from all different, I guess I use the word labels. Maybe they are progressive, conservative, liberal, libertarian, and everything in between. And I guess I've kind of come to this point where it's like, it's time to kill the stock market and kill capitalism, because it's not just Unicorn. Unicorn needs to be gone. They should have been delisted, bankrupt a long time ago. But the big, and then I'm not going to just say what's broken and say, let's just, break this. But I'm also saying that we need small businesses to rise. The corporations have been destroying small businesses. When I grew up in the 70s, we were decentralized. So, what I'm excited about is the common thread that we have. I mean, I think we all have to be honest in this discussion. If you look up a lot of videos about the deep state and the cabal, who is the deep state and the cabal? It's the stock market. I mean, it's much bigger than the stock market. It's like the NSA, the CIA. But if we want to know who the real, enemy or the 800-pound monster is in the room, it's the stock market. Because there's also Raytheon, which makes shitloads of money off endless war. There's Monsanto that's poisoning our foods, Monsanto and Roundup. There's, Bank of America, all these evil loans where they had people sign back in 2007, a loan that was like 2%, and it ballooned up. These balloon loans, like they jumped up to like 20%. Then you lost your house, but you had to read you know, a 10-page document you probably didn't know. I mean, and all the fees that these evil banks keeps doing. So, you know, at some point, you know, what is the real enemy? And I just don't see that enough. And I've been bold. I've been on some other talk shows. I was on a really good one yesterday with a really good group of people. But I've been nailing saying, you know, Core needs to go bankrupt, you know, and then, you know, along with Monsanto and Raytheon and all these other horrible companies, corrupt corporations. And a lot of these CEOs should have been in jail, you know, especially 2007, 2008. They all got off, and they got, in fact, when they left, sometimes they get $10 million or whatever, 5 million, you know, as a bonus for doing even more corruption, more bankruptcy, more homelessness, that these, you know, these horrible so I guess the point, you know, I want to keep it on a positive note, though. It's let's funnel all that effort into promoting small business at this time and decentralize everything. And so the one common thread, I'll just, you know, leave it with this is, you know, everybody to think about. I'm really pushing decentralize everything, you know, move everything back to local. Why should Washington, D.C. be telling us what to do? You know, they're really, you could say they're stealing our money there's trillions of dollars that could come back to local cities and states. Let them decide, let the people, and, you know, that we should be able to vote on solutions locally without voting on a representative model like what we have now. So there's a huge love for decentralize everything. And what's great about it is it's a common thread that both progressives, conservatives, liberals, they love the idea of decentralization. I've never heard any negative feedback when I promote decentralizing and putting it in the hands of the people. You know, what's even more nefarious is that some place like the UN and Belgium would be telling us what to do, you know, with the New World Order and all that stuff. I mean, we're all hearing about all that stuff. But so anyway, that's kind of like the theme of my podcast, the podcast that I do, that I host and produce, called People Power, E-Town Halls, you know, decentralize everything, power to the people. And I don't want to, you know, what a lot of the thing, I support the people who are creating these autonomous zones in a lot of the major cities. I'm supporting them, but I'm also saying, you know, let's not just go down the route of saying what's broken. Let's also have a solution. So I challenge people, if you want to, it's great to say, you know, what's broken, we need to hear it, but, you know, let's hear some really good solutions. So I see Nick on the show. He's another YouTube podcaster. He has Advocates for Direct Democracy. How's it going, Nick?
I'm trying to unmute him. Give me 1 second. He'll come in.
Yeah, but we're gonna address that a whole other day. Man. We're gonna try to go ahead and get on top and let Jane take us in. What's our topic for today?
Hold on, it's coronavirus. I want Nick to at least introduce himself. I'm trying to unmute him. Can you unmute yourself, Nick? Okay, there you go. You unmuted.
Yeah, I want to thank Daniel for inviting me here. I really encourage more of these type of meetings. And in fact, a lot of them are happening across the world, believe it or not. Daniel and I do one every Tuesday. Actually, I just finished another meeting with some other individuals, mainly from the U.S. By the way, I just want to let you guys know that I'm Canadian.
Oh, me too.
Oh, we got 2 Canadians here. Awesome.
Yes.
I'm from the province of Ontario. Our capital, of course, is Toronto. So I just want to start. I want to give you my background on how I got into the ideas of decentralizing. Daniel actually came up with the idea of decentralizing democracy. So basically, my journey started back in 2008, and when the financial collapse happened. You know, a lot of people lost their homes due to foreclosures. And of course, what really upset me was the fact that the banks and some of the corporations got bailed out because of their greed. Now, before that, before 2008, I was still a little weary about voting for representatives here in Canada. But then after that debacle in 2008, that was it. I made my decision that I would no longer support any politician, no matter what level of government it is. I basically boycotted, and I still boycott to this day. Anyways, I listened to another YouTuber. He owns a magazine called Trends. His name is Gerald Celente. He's a New Yorker. And he actually turned me on to the idea of direct democracy. Now, direct democracy, I encourage you guys to look it up when you guys get a chance. It's exactly what Daniel was talking about, decentralizing. So again, it's not voting on politicians or voting on individuals. It's actually voting on the issues. Okay. So for instance, America right now, you know, there's a lot of unrest, and rightfully so, because a lot of people have been fucked over for many years. And actually, you know, I'm really surprised that the Americans didn't get pissed off back in 2008. And that's when they should have went on the streets in full, but it didn't happen. But regardless, the single payer system in America right now is a really hot button issue, amongst other things. But again, if the Americans want a single payer system, under this current system, they have to ask for permission. Why do Americans who pay taxes, that own all the state legislation houses, all the city councils, and even Congress, why do you guys need to ask your politicians to implement something like a single payer, or which is basically a human right? So again, if you had a direct democracy, then the American people would vote through a referenda whether they want a single payer system or not. And again, that can be applied on all levels of government. It just doesn't have to be applied on the federal level. It can be applied on all levels.
Okay, so you
That's
Daniel is saying, what Daniel is saying is true. We need to identify what the issue is and then come up with solutions. So what I would like to do, so I don't want to, you know, I want to get on the topic of what it is, but I would like to do is have Daniel briefly say what he feels the issue is, and then I'll challenge everybody to come up with a solution. And what we'll do is we'll make a show just directed for what the topic is right now. We'll do that so we can start building together and doing things together, because this needs to happen. You know, so go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I know the topic of didn't want to hijack the topic of the show, but I know it was about COVID, which, you know, there's a lot of, like what Nick said, there's a lot of interest to get more activists, advocates, and podcasters together, you know, and to keep growing this movement, and that, you know, we're all in this together. We're all on the same planet Earth, you know, well, let's see how we can collaborate. But I guess when it comes to COVID, you know, Nick just did a great video on his channel called Masks or No Masks, you know, whether to wear masks when it comes to COVID. But you guys are hitting on something that's huge too. We also need to hear about COVID behind bars. That could be a good name of a podcast, because there's thousands of people, you know, dying behind bars, not just in the US, around the world, in prison. And it's like a petri dish in there. When the COVID gets in there, you know, so many people die fast. And not on top of that, nobody's eating salads and greens and taking really good, you know, vitamins and supplements. So it's a huge issue. But one of the things Nick and I, we hack away at the bullshit corporate media, because we're only seeing one side of the mask thing. We're not hearing, you know, that right now masks only really protect doctors for tuberculosis bacteria, which is a much larger organism, and that, you know, a virus is super small and it goes through a mask. A mask won't necessarily prevent it. On top of that, you don't see doctors and nurses wearing masks out when it's 100-degree weather here in Texas, where I'm at, you know, or 20-degree weather, you know, or, you know, doctors they have an infinite supply of masks, so they can throw them out every 15 minutes or so. But one of the key things, because Nick brought this up recently, is that doctors right now, we're only hearing the corporatocracy, you know, the synthetic medicine doctors who are pushing that agenda, you know, and it's a bullshit agenda of the masks and the quarantines. The other thing we're not hearing about, we're seeing huge things with having to stay sheltered at home, losing all these jobs, you know, violence and protest. I mean, you know, destruction is going up. There's a lot more suicide, a lot more, you know, as a result of the quarantine stuff that we're going through. So we're only seeing one side. And that's, you know, if you go to CNN and Fox and you depend on that as kind of your news source, quote unquote, you know, which it really isn't. It's really propaganda. You know, we're only seeing one side of the issue. So all these issues, we need to see the pros and cons, you know, like really good debate. So I guess that's my point, whether it's COVID, you know, we were talking about abolishing Unicor, the horrible for-present profit where you make 23 cents an hour. And, you know, that's on the stock market right now, Unicor. And then on top of that, US citizens are paying $44,000 per prisoner. And prisons are horrible places to live. So I guess that's kind of the point that I want to make, is like, maybe in all these debates too, not only do we see what's broken and then solutions, but we also see the pros and cons.
Okay. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start it off with saying that inside the prisons the COVID is more deadlier in my opinion. In my opinion, it's more deadlier than it is out here because I have an option to come within 6 feet of you. You know, you can't force me to be within 6 feet of you. If you start walking toward me, I can walk away from you. Of course, I would like to speak on more about this mask. I would like Nick to speak more on the mask situation, but let me get back to what I'm saying. I'm gonna ask him a question about the mask thing because you brought up. But you know, in prison, I can't get away from nobody. I have a cellie. There's no way in an 8 by 10 cell can I get 6 feet away from my cellie. You know, when we come out for that 1 hour that they're giving us, they're letting at least 50 to 100 people out to use 3 to 6 showers, to use 2 to 4 phones, or possibly more phones, to use the computers. You know, so you know, and on top of all of that, unlike being out here, we have fresh air. Everything is ran through the venting system there, so it's not like they're getting fresh air all the time because they're not going out. And even if there is a person with COVID inside of inside of that unit or that area, it's being spread through the ventilation. You know, so you know, I want to say that the numbers are not reported accurately on what's going on in prison. They're not doing that. Um, what they're doing is they are underreporting the numbers in order to not alarm people. They were giving out um I forget what it's called. It's not compassionate release, but they was giving house arrest or granting people to come home on house arrest as a way to kind of subsidize the population and try to do that. They've stopped that. You know, it's up to the warden. It's up to one person, and that person gets the opportunity to say yes or no. A lot of the wardens right out here, it's Elkton, Ohio, has a federal prison. They're saying no, but I want you to know that at Elkton, Ohio, that they had a tent, and I seen this because it was on Facebook. They had a tent on the rec yard on the basketball court, and whenever a person died, what they did was took them and put them inside of that tent. So now the people inside of the prison also were showing videos where it may be 10 people in the area, one person or two people may have COVID, and they're showing, say, hey, this guy's sick, he can't get up, he can't breathe, he can't do this, and there's nothing I can do to protect myself. As Nick, as you pointed out, the mask, I think is, you know, I'm not sure on whether they help or not, so I think that I'm gonna let Nick speak on that. But they give them the mask, and if they're not helping, then it's giving the illusion that it is helping. It's giving you false hope. You know, that hey, the mask can help save my life. You know, and so you know, I definitely want you to know that it is hindering a lot of things in prison. As Miss Bambi was speaking up there, she was saying that her fiance or husband, he's in prison, and it disrupts everything. There's no educational system. The meals are not proper now because when you're locked down, you don't get no hot food. You know, every now and then they might cook a hot meal for you, but you're going to get bag lunches in the morning. You're going to get some cereal, a fruit, whether it be an apple or orange, and you're going to get some milk, 2% milk that's in the pack. Lunch, you're going to get some water or milk in the pack. You're going to get a peanut butter jelly sandwich or a bologna and cheese sandwich or just a cheese sandwich and a fruit. You know, in the morning you might get some boiled eggs with your cereal. And the same thing for um for dinner. You know, so you're not getting the proper nutrition that you need based on this COVID. You're not getting the proper ventilation that you need based on this COVID. You can't you can't pursue your education or do anything to better yourself because of this. You can't even get the proper exercise that you need to get because of this. You know, so it's definitely telling it's definitely it's definitely affecting us in a lot of ways. Definitely doing that there. Go ahead, Mr. Clifton.
Yeah, I like to ask everybody, and this is just and I just want your personal opinion. How many people, you know, by show of hands, if you can, or if you're not showing your face, you know, put it in the chat room for question number one. How many people think that the masks are actually helping? You do? You do. What about you, Bambi?
Bambi. Hold on, let me unmute you. Go ahead.
Now she's still muted. Yeah.
She's still muted. Hold on. I'm trying to get you right.
Okay, there we go. Me personally, I mean, I have to wear a mask at work, and like in Pennsylvania now, it's required that all public places you have to wear a mask. The only thing really you're really covering is your mouth and your nose, but like you still contact it through your eyes. You know what I mean? Like you're not covering everything. So I don't think the mask is really protect anything.
So what about you, Lisa?
Besides, like when
And this is just my opinion, that mask isn't doing nothing but making me hot and making my glasses fogged up. I have, my loved one Damon is incarcerated. He had the COVID virus, so it did not help him.
All right, I want to shed some light on people. On if
Excuse me, Mr. Clifton.
yeah.
Excuse me. I have people that's on Facebook that's commenting, and I would like to read their comments as
Okay.
well. What they're saying is the young lady named Precious, beautiful sister. She says the mask is killing people faster. We are supposed to breathe fresh air. A doctor told me to take the mask off my nose. He said it's dangerous. He said that's why we I don't know which but back out what we hold on, I'm trying to get it. I gotta open it up. Please
We on
forgive me.
Facebook?
Yeah, they're on Facebook. So why we inhale or suck the air of our old food? Basically, what she's saying is the mask prevents us from being able to get the actual air and the stuff that we actually need. So if they're giving us the impression, and I don't know that the mask is supposed to be used to stop the virus from coming into us breathing the virus into our system. Okay, but at the end of the day, I can't breathe with my mask on, and I often pull my mask down, and I have to catch myself and pull it back up. If I'm around people, then I'll stick it out, So with that being said, I just wanted to read the comments that she's saying and acknowledge that her comment. But go ahead, Mr. Clifton.
All right. That's the first question. I want y'all to kind of lock this in. Long before this COVID-19 thing happened, if you looked in the American Medical Journal, that it had COVID-19 as the common cold. It had it down as the common cold. And you can get some of the AMA Medical Journal. I'm gonna try to take a snapshot of some of the pictures or anything. Like my daughter-in-law is a pharmacist, so they got it listed as a common cold. One of the viruses as a common cold. So it's this COVID-19 super virus of the common cold, like somewhere in between the flu and the cold, stuff like that. But long story short, I don't think it's a drill, but I think it's that they're downplaying it within. It's something else going on that we don't really know about, because they got FEMA. I don't know if this is a training that the government is doing within the bureau or within society, everything to maybe shake everything up so they can garner more control. But when I think about this, I look at everything that's going on in the prison. Say like Forest City, they built new FEMA trailers just for COVID-19. They got 5 showers. This is for the Bureau of Prison. They got 5 showers in it. They got purification place where all the guys who are there selecting to go home have to go through. When they isolate them from population, they have to go into this FEMA trailer. They got the laundry, they got the washers and dryers inside the trailer. They're 18 wheelers.
What state is that, Mr. Clifton?
That's Arkansas and Mississippi. That's Forest City, Arkansas.
Thank you.
If you look at the prison room right now, they got a FEMA trailer. I'm trying to get pictures of it right now. They got a FEMA trailer in front of the vision room at the camp. They're having guys who are in quarantine and at the low. Guys who are in quarantine for 21 days. It's not 14 anymore. They got them quarantined for 21 days. They have to go into this FEMA trailer and wash their clothes every day. They got washers and dryers inside the trailer. They got showers inside of the trailers. And also, but here's the thing, they're still bringing their food from the compound where they got the same dudes on the compound with cooks. You see what I'm saying? If
Yeah.
it's a virus, it can live on the surface for so long, but they're still letting the same population feed them. So the quarantine, everything they're doing is just for public show. Because like James said, in Yazoo and Forest City, where I know inmates are dying, some of the guys I knew have died before. Have died since this happened. And within the last couple of weeks. So I know people are dying.
I agree with you, Mr. Clifton. They, you know, in Ohio, where I'm at, that prison that my loved one Damon's in Marion Prison, 85% of the inmates in this prison are sick. They're dying.
Yeah.
Dying. And you know, a CO, and the COs, there's 2 COs that died, but just the other day, a CO had said to Damon, he's in a dorm of 105 men. And this CO said, it's a shame that more of you ain't dying than us. And this is the mentality in this prison. They don't care about them. They're not giving them now they got 3 showers in this dorm of 103 men, 3 toilets, 3 showers. They come in once a month to clean. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. So my thought is, do they want people in prison to die? Is this their plan?
Well,
I don't know. It feels like it to me.
It feels to me sort of like it's a population control. And
Yes.
but you know, the thing I look at it at the government, that none of the unicorns right now are working.
Okay.
You know, none of them anywhere. Matter of fact, the one in Forest City and the one in Yazoo have people living in them. They got different stages or different, I don't know if it's different strands of the virus, but they got people who are quarantined. They're moving them around, but
right. And if you don't mind me saying, I'm in Stark County in Ohio. Elkton, which is what Mr. James was talking about, the federal prison, is only 45 minutes away. And people smell the odor. And that is horrible for the country, everybody to let this go on is so inhumane, but it's happening.
You know, let me ask you this, and I'm speaking for the people that's on Facebook as well. Young lady, Miss Precious, again asked a question, or she made a statement, which is basically, when somebody gets sick now, there is no common cold no more. Everything is COVID-19. You know, which is, you know, everything that's going on, period, that's medically is some way resulting back to COVID-19. And I don't think that everybody is actually catching COVID-19. I think that this is what the government wants you to focus on, and this is what they're distracting you with, because this is what they do a lot of times. They throw a distraction out there while they're doing something over to the right. They have you looking to the left. I don't know, you know, but I don't believe that the COVID-19. I believe it's serious because I see people dying, but I don't, you know.
As soon as they diagnose them, James, as soon as the hospital and the clinics are diagnosing you with COVID-19, especially the hospital, if they treat you, they're getting $3,500 per patient.
Is that right? I did not know that.
In the state of Mississippi, they're getting $3,500 per patient. Yeah. So they're getting money instantaneously from the government. Like once they diagnose you with, if you come in with a sniffle and they say it's COVID-19 and they treat you and they quarantine you, they're getting a certain amount of money. They just quarantine, the guy that was with us, James Gunline, they quarantined him and his whole family. So they diagnosed the whole family with COVID-19. So they got them under Mississippi is still 14 days. In some states, it's 21 days.
But what I'm not understanding is, how can you say, okay, I want you to go on a 14-day quarantine at home, don't take no medication, just stay in the house and stay away from everybody. If I got something, if I have a virus,
right?
You're not gonna give me no medical attention. You're not going to do anything. You're just telling me go home and continue to live my life. Just live by myself
and hope you get better.
And
I'm
hope
not,
you don't die.
and hope you don't die. I don't understand it. The only people that they're allowing to the actual hospital, people with breathing problems, and So if you don't have a breathing problem, they're just telling you, hey, just go home and do what you're doing. Another one of the viewers asked me to ask, has everybody at least taken one COVID test? You have many people that say they have. Here's my opinion of the COVID when it comes to that. I haven't personally taken it, but the individuals that are in my inner circle, close inner circle, that if have taken it and they have come back negative. And I'm around these people every day, so I might need to take one. So don't misunderstand me. But if they come back negative, I feel like if they come back negative, I don't have nothing. But um, you know, I feel that you know that the COVID-19 is like the flu shot. When you go get a flu shot, they're injecting a strain of flu into you in order for your body to fight it off. So now I'm afraid that if I go take a COVID-19 test, they may be putting some of this into me in order to.
No, that's what the vaccine is for. That's what they're preparing the vaccine for, to physically infect everybody with the COVID-19 virus. All vaccine is a portion of the virus. So, most mothers are it's like when polio and all the vaccines came around in the 70s. They're going to make billions off of the virus. As you know, when everything comes around in the prison, Jane, it's going to be mandatory.
Yes.
They're not going to give them an opportunity. They're not going to give them the option. Everybody who's incarcerated, when the vaccine comes out this fall, it's not going to be a choice that they're going to have. Either you take it or they're going to put you in the shoe for an unlimited amount of time. They're going to write a program statement so they can keep you separated from the population for as long as for the duration of your time. So if you got 25, 30 years left, or however many years you got left, if you refuse that virus, they're going to give you an incident report and probably transfer all those people who are going to refuse the virus and have them at one camp. And it's going to be penalties every time they come around and ask you for refusing to obey a direct order. The same way they did when they came with the DNA test. So that's one of the only incident report I had. I told them I still had a pending case. So I don't want you to take my DNA and pin it on somebody else's name. That's the right. You need a warrant to take my DNA. When they came out with that.
Okay, they changed that. We both know that they changed that, and I need everybody to understand this here. I got some more questions from some viewers. First, Sippy, I want you to acknowledge that Gunline is on Facebook watching this, and he said that he's saying the same thing that you have said. The next thing that I want to say that they changed that, saying that it was mandatory before. You left after me, so it was mandatory that you take a DNA sample before you get out. What that means is, with the DNA sample is, they collect every prisoner's DNA and they keep it in a database. So if something happens, they automatically run whatever DNA they find through that database to see if they can find a match. That being the case, eventually they're going to do the same thing with the COVID vaccine, and it's all under the disguise of the safety and health of the institution, the best interest of the prison system. So you really can't deny that. Like I'm saying, I would like for them to treat it as if it was something like the flu shot, where it's optional whether you want to take a flu shot or not. But I don't think they are. I think that they're going to pump it in. I think that the prison system is going to be the guinea pig for this vaccine that they're actually going to create, because you can't tell them no.
You're absolutely right. I agree with you. Yes.
The prison system is always, people don't, outside of, doing the lab tests and stuff like that, there are a lot of people try their drugs and stuff out at the prison system first. Because again, you have a lot of people in the prison system that don't have no family members or nobody that's supporting them, and do know that they do know, because they watch the mail, they listen to your phones, they do all, they monitor how many visits you get and all that stuff there. So don't think that they don't, because that's one of the things that they look at, consider programming, because they say family ties. Another question somebody else asked on Facebook was, how do we know who have it? Because they're saying at least one person can affect 10 people in certain areas. And these people that are actually giving me these comments are in Miami, Florida. And I want you to know that Miami, Florida. Hold on. I got somebody that want to give a comment from Miami. Go ahead.
Hello. First of all, my name is Kid. I would like to share with you guys that I was incarcerated when the coronavirus first did pop out. And I was one of the lucky ones. Like you said, I'm in Miami, Florida. And I was one of the lucky ones who have some other issues. So I was able to claim the other issues to get from incarceration. When I started watching on the TV that we supposed to be 6 feet apart, like James said, we're not able not to be 6 feet apart. I was in the county jail and it was like 140 of us in one room. Therefore, I stopped doing head count. I stopped eating their food and I would just lay in the bed with the covers over my head. So when the officers would come, I was telling them that I feared for the coronavirus. So eventually they got me on house arrest to get me home. But my thing to you guys is, supposedly, I'm not sure because I don't know the numbers that I'm on house arrest. I don't know. Florida has the most coronavirus. I don't understand this. I don't understand how, why. We got the same rules that everybody else have. It's a law that we must wear masks. Even if I go outside, I gotta have on a mask. Police have stopped. They told me that.
So
I need to have on a mask.
do a mass help then. And I want to ask Nick this.
It's hard to breathe with the mask on.
After you finish, I want to ask Nick to give his opinion whether a mask is a friend or a foe. But go ahead, Mr.
It's hard to breathe with the mask on. I did take the coronavirus because, like I said, I have other issues, and I had to go in the hospital to get a shot in my back. And in order for me to go in the hospital, I had to take a coronavirus test. So as of now, I don't have the coronavirus. But like Mr. Clifton said, anytime you go in the hospital now, they say you have the coronavirus. You can go in there with a broke finger and they're going to say you have the coronavirus. But so it's like hard to believe. Is it really a coronavirus? I understand there's a lot of people who are dying. And I still talk to a lot of people who are incarcerated. And it is very seriously in there. And I feel so bad because we didn't have the coronavirus when we was in jail. So the officers brought the coronavirus in the jail because we didn't leave the jail. So in order for the guy in the jail, y'all brought it in. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy. Like I said, they had gloves and they had hand sanitizer and they had masks way before they was giving it to the inmates. So with that being said, I don't know if the mask is working. I'm gonna say this, and I don't know where I heard this at, that if somebody passed gas, it goes through your jeans. So how is the coronavirus not going through the mask? It's the same air, it's the same thing. If you can smell when somebody passed gas through the jeans, how they not gonna get the coronavirus through this little mask? And the masks are very thick, some of them are very thin. You know, we're making them out of everything now. But you know, that's just something to think. So when I asked my doctor that, how is the coronavirus stopping this? And if I pass gas, y'all can smell the gas. They said it's the droplets. It's the droplets that live to the surface. But like the young lady, Miss Bambi said, well, what about our eyes? We ain't covered up the eyes. So now should all of us wear these plastic things they have now to cover up the whole face? Should we be wearing those?
Shield.
Yeah, should we be wearing the shields?
Let me say this, and I'm gonna let Mr. Nick answer your question. I want to read one comment off, and again, I want to read one comment off, and then I want to let him talk because this comment refers back to what he's going to touch on. The comment is, where the young lady's name is Crystal Fletcher, personal friend of mine. She says, wear a mask so we can get this virus under control. She also said the healthcare workers are overworked. Those that don't want to wear a mask don't get a ventilator. I had several coworkers die from it. Several recovered. They said it was worse than the flu. For 2 days, it was difficult to breathe, they said. The couple ones I heard the story from, they were scared to sleep, scared they would not be able to get to the hospital if it becomes that bad. It's serious. I work with the public. 3 co-workers have died, and many have contacted it. Our building is fumigated a couple times a week. Doctors and nurses wear them every day, all day. We can for a few minutes. That leads to the question of, I'm as interested as everybody else. Are these masks helping us? But Mr. Nick, I asked you that.
Here go another thing too, Jane. Oh, you want to let Nick answer?
Yeah, let Nick answer.
Yeah, let's go, Nick.
Well, the masks have they have a time and place. You know, they're only supposed to be temporary measures, but people wear the same masks for hours on end. What people don't realize, and this is actually from scientific studies, is every time you breathe stuff out, the mask is basically catching whatever's coming out of your body. Now the thing is that again, I think there's like a time limit that you're only supposed to wear those things, and then you're supposed to dispose of them. Well, if you wear them past that time limit, what you're doing is you're actually taking the germs that your body's kicking out, and you're actually putting it back in through your nose. And scientists are actually saying some of those can actually travel back to your brain. So, I mean, if you're out in public and there's nobody around you, there's no point of wearing a mask. If you're driving, you know, there's no point wearing a mask. I mean, again, if you're in a jail, you know, it's a controlled environment. So basically there's no ventilation. I think wearing a mask in that situation or in that particular point is a good idea to do. But again, the mask can only last so long. So really you need one of those ventilators. You need one of those pig-like masks in order to kind of filter out the air properly. The mask's not going to do that on prolonged periods of time. So you got to really pick and choose when to wear the mask. But if they're mandated, from what I understand in the States, they want to make it mandatory that you wear a mask all the time. I think that's very dangerous.
And then here's another thing that's going on. I want y'all to be aware of this too. You know, they got all these college fraternities in Alabama where they're going around, they're gambling, trying to, all right, hold on. They're gambling, trying to see who gets the virus first. They're putting up money and it's like a pool. So they're trying to intentionally catch it. Have y'all seen that? This is true. This is in Alabama. So they're trying to subpoena them to court. And what they're telling the people, I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to submit to any test. So what they're doing, they're creating parties where they're going around trying to get infected and trying to see how many people they can get. They're called super spreaders. You see, so they're intentionally trying to get the virus in order to take it and go somewhere where it's a party and mingle with as many people. And my thing about the mask is, okay, let's just say if some of the, like kids say, some of the air droplets got on the outside of your mask. When you took it off, when you take it off, your hand is going to touch the outside of that mask. If you don't use some type of germicide to clean your hands before it permeates your skin, then what you've done, if you pass somebody, let's just say he sneezed while you pass him, and some of the droplets, and you breathe them in, but the mask caught it, or N95 mask caught it. When you take the mask off with your hands going to touch the outside of that mask. You see how they're doing the test in some of the labs to where they was just saying how they're taking some of the people who were infected and let them test different stuff, like at buffets and stuff, all these restaurants opening, and they got these buffets open, people touching the same utensils, and the virus is on their hand. And so they're doing the light test, showing what the virus, how many people could have spread the virus. They're doing these simulation chambers at different restaurants. And they're coming back looking with the blue light, just seeing how many people could have been infected if they had attended the place. That's just one of the things, man. You got people who are out there intentionally going to these hotspots in Florida and Alabama, trying to intentionally infect people. You know,
Okay,
so,
I have two more comments, and then I'm gonna make a comment.
right.
Again, Crystal Fletcher has said it has not been any cases in a while. We get a fresh mask every day provided by the job. What she does is she drive buses for the city, for EC Maryland or whatever, wherever she's driving. I don't know exactly. I ain't never followed a bus, but and then the other person says, which is Precious. Some say yes, some say no. But as I see it, people who I know who have or had coronavirus, they were wearing masks and gloves. So my opinions is masks are not safe. I wear them, but I refuse to cover my nose. Okay. My opinion of this is, I don't know. I really don't know. But I will say that I think it's a psychological thing for us to think that they're actually helping us when no mask might not be helping us. Because if you're not covering your nose where you're breathing in at, what is the purpose of the mask? Now I want to go back to Nick. And ask Nick, because I never got an understanding of his actual opinion of, do he think that the mask help us or the mask hurt us?
Well, the thing is, it's not a simple yes, no answer. I mean, see, the thing is, the problem is everybody wants to put a one size fits all to all the solutions. And it's not that simplistic. Like I said, right? If someone's got a compromised immune system and they're weak and they're out in public, maybe it's a good idea to wear the mask. You know what I mean? But then again, if you're out in the park, walking the dog, why do you need a mask? You know, if you're driving your car, why do you need a mask? If you're outside, you know, breathing in fresh air, again, why do you need a mask? This is counterproductive. And again, I think the mask is really only for human interaction. And even at that point, I would still probably say that, you know, if you're a healthy human being, and through herd immunity, I think that we can filter out these viruses. But again, not everybody can filter them out because not everybody is healthy. So I can't really say that they're good or not. It all depends where you use them and for how long you use them. Again, I've researched, and this is through like scientific studies, peer review studies, and they say, yes, the mask has its purposes, but at the same time, if you're going to use them all day, then they suggest not to do that because it's actually counterproductive. Your body needs oxygen to breathe in. And again, they've done tests where they actually use OSHA type devices, OSHA approved devices when they wear the mask. And again, they'll test it without the mask, the oxygen levels, and they'll test it with the mask. The oxygen actually lowered below the standards, the OSHA standards, oxygen level standards. So if your device is alarming, then that basically tells you that you're basically breathing in more carbon dioxide than you are oxygen. So really, it's not really a good idea. So again, it all depends on the situation you use the mask for. But again, most of the time, you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Again, if you're a healthy person, I think it's counterproductive.
Okay, so one thing that we do get, many things I got, but one thing I will say is that I gathered is we need to change these masks a little bit more than when we've been changing them. You know, because if I wear, I would say half a day, um, if I wear half a day, I shouldn't be wearing the whole mask for 24 hours. I know it's going to get costly and everything, and believe it or not, before it's over, Unicorn's going to be making masks. I hate to say that, but this is, I predict that coming. Prison industry or prison works. Unicorn, they call them other things in other prisons and states. I feel like they're going to be making masks because the government grabs on to anything that he can make money with. Bottom line. So, again, we need to change our masks a little bit more often. And if I'm out by myself, I don't wear a mask. If I'm, like you're saying, Nick, if I'm interacting or I'm going to interact with somebody, then I'm going to wear a mask. So, I think it's kind of like I ain't gonna say common sense because that's not that common, in a lot of areas, in a lot of days. I see a lot of already, but I'm going to say, we have to think wisely on this. We have to think, with some intelligence, use intelligence, because if I'm out here by myself, what do I need a mask for? But if I'm around some other people, of course I want a mask. I'm going to read 2 more comments and then I want to ask, let Mr. Barron, Daniel say something. Okay, we're back at Tion Baker. She said, absolutely, because our main source of oxygen stimulates from the grass and air around us combined, supposedly correct. She's asking that question. Crystal Fletcher commenting again. She says, saw on the news, type A blood type is prone more than other types of blood. Type O blood gets it the least. They are studying this to see why this is happening. So type A catches it more than type O, and they're trying to figure out why that's happening. And then you have Miss Baker that says she agrees that the masks are to be changed, just as gloves are in the restaurant and kitchen, like Mr. Clifton is saying, because the material of the mask are consuming the bacteria. With those comments, I want to ask you, Daniel, what do you think about all of this?
Well, I just want to, put this in everybody's thought is that, question everything, be a critical thinker, just don't believe anything, don't believe even what I'm saying. Just, do the research, look at these types of talk shows. It's great. I love being on the show. Thank you for James putting this on, but
no problem.
I want to point out, I'm going to go back to the mask, but I do want to point out the 2 greatest Georges of all time. And I try to use this filter for everything are the late great comedian George Carlin, who has a lot of great content out on YouTube, and the author George Orwell, 1984, the prison state. And I do see the U.S. in 2020. We are a prison state. We're totalitarian. You know, so there's so much corruption that I'm okay with anarchy at this point. You know, it's gotten to be so bad that if we had a solar flare that knocks out the electricity for 6 months, you know, it's gotten so much with all these horrible laws and prisons and on and on and on, and corruption, you know, and that's part of what's happening in the streets. It gets so bad that you just, but I'm still pushing for decentralized civilization or decentralize everything, because I see this as our last hope. I'm desperate. And I had ancestors that were killed in the concentration camps in Europe, and I'll do what I can. I'd rather stand and just die on my own feet, you know, than, you know, just die, you know, on my knees, is like a famous saying. But, you know, we're in desperate times right now. And one of my fears, and I guess I just got to put this out there because I think it's important. These unicorn prisons, you know, that I've learned from talking with Maurice. We did a great interview, and also James, we did a great interview. The unicorn prisons where you make 23 cents an hour. I'll be honest with you all. I'm afraid that, because a lot of you know, this might sound more conspiratorial, but Alex Jones and a lot of other people are saying that these FEMA camps, and if you look at a map all over the US, there's FEMA camps, that if things get so bad and they call in the military and, you know, we're forced to work in these camps, and then we're all getting paid 23 cents an hour working for Unicor or some whatever, you know. So I just want to put that out there, because if we don't think of what horrors could happen, you know, our ass is all, you know, it's just, you know, just trying to be prepared. And I try to walk that thin line of, you know, really trying to see, you know, we've seen drastic changes in 2020. And so everything's on the plate. We got to all be kind of getting prepared, you know, study the survivalist stuff, prepper stuff. But, you know, and I was glad to see what happened over the weekend with the Black Panthers. And, you know, they were marching in Stone Mountain. It looked like there was about 300 or 400. And I support what they're doing. I totally get it, you know, that they need to be out there heavily armed. I don't know if people have seen those videos. Those are powerful videos. And I support what they're doing. And, you know, but I also want to see, you know, when all this clears, you know, how can we avert a civil war, or, you know, the military coming in and the National Guard? You know, we're kind of at these times, but I'll just kind of sum up too. I just want people to be thinking, though, please be critical thinkers like George Carlin, you know, George Orwell, Richard Pryor, you know, Chris Rock. These are genius people. If you listen to their, I love Chris Rock says, you know, why can't we make a Buick that the bumper doesn't fall off on? That's one of my favorite jokes that Chris Rock has, you know, but we can land a man on the moon, you know? So, I mean, let's turn to our freedom fighters. These are I'm okay with tearing down all the monuments and replacing with Richard Pryor, Chris Rock, Malcolm X, you know, our real heroes that, you know, really are, these are our freedom fighters because they knew the systems were broken. And that's why even the pirates are our real heroes, because they were fighting against slavery. You know, they were attacking these slave ships, they were called pirates, but they were on the good side. They're the good team, you know, so, you know, anyway, so one thing I recommend everybody go check out the movie called Bubble Boy movie from 1976 with John Travolta. It's a true story of a little boy who lived in a bubble for 12 years. And then he died because at the time they tried a bone marrow transplant. The reason why that movie is important is because it's about immunity. You know, let's go back to thinking about immunity. So one of the things, if I don't wear a mask outside and I'm with someone else who's spitting on me, let's say, and we're spitting on each other, we're actually helping each other's immunity. So one of the things that we're losing from wearing these masks is they use that expression herd immunity. It's called herd because a herd kind of refers to all of us as a herd. And so we're destroying our immune systems. And then on top of that, I just recently saw a picture in Thailand where the schools are opening up and all these kids are bubble boys. They built these little cubicles in a classroom where they're surrounded by plastic, the kids are, and they're not allowed to play, you know, so all the social things are getting in the toilet, you know, so we're raising a whole generation of robots and who aren't even able to touch each other or sing or dance. So it's happiness, fun, joy, and contentment have been declared illegal in the US and around the world with all this stuff. But that herd immunity, you know, if I'm not, you know, I'm kind of exaggerating, just spitting on each other, but sometimes that happens when you're in a conversation, get really heated. That spitting back and forth, you know, is helping our immune system be top notch. And so if we all have these weakened immune systems like the boy in the bubble from 1976, you know, we're all going to be struggling. And one last thing I'm going to say, my dad grew up in the hospital. He was a researcher doing like cancer research for years. And when I went to work with him in the hospital, they blow special air in there. I think it was more oxygenated or really nice air. And I could tell a difference when I went to the hospital. So when we do this debate about masks, I think one thing is to compare the masks that we wear to what doctors and nurses do. So they wear a mask, for like 8 hours to 15 hours a day or whatever. Maybe they work these huge shifts, but they're constantly throwing out their mask, and they have oxygenated air in that hospital, in the ER and some of the other rooms that we don't get, even in some of these stores, or like you mentioned in the prisons, they don't have really nice air in there, like oxygenated air, like a hospital. So I think that's a really important point. If we're going to talk about masks, let's compare it to the groups of people that have to spend a big chunk of their lives wearing it. And then I met a woman recently who has to wear a mask, and she's breaking out all over her face. She said she's breathing. She never had these problems before. So she's got like acne and all these problems. So, and then another area is nobody can really afford to buy these masks because it's expensive. Can we all go out, and even if it's only $2, but that means if I'm supposed to replace this mask every 15 minutes, what is that, like $30 a day that I've got to be throwing down to get these masks in the right order? I can't afford that. None of us can afford, buying just a shitload of masks. So those are some of the points I'd like everybody to just kind of take away. Please don't believe anything, just because everything is like fake news, fake history, fake everything, just fake medicine.
It's not fake news that they're dying in prison, though, Daniel.
What's that?
It's not fake news that they're dying, Daniel.
Oh yeah, I hear you, man. Well, that's what we're about.
With though, but you're saying it's fake news, and I know people who actually died out of prison.
I think that.
No, I'm saying what you're saying today, and everybody on this group is giving the real news. I'm just saying we're hearing fake news from like CNN, Fox. I hate those, corporate media. Okay. That's the point. No, you're speaking the word, Maurice. I agree 1,000% with you, and I've been promoting your video, the interview that we did with everybody, and trying to do best I can to collaborate, on all these things. But I'm just pointing out across the board, mainstream is just so corrupted.
But how do we saying the truth out of it? How do we sift the truth out of it?
Well, that's what's great about, your platform and James and, what Nick does and what People Power is about. I mean, that's what we're all about.
Can I step in for 1 second? I want to respond to Maurice's comment. Maurice, how we can do that is if we all share information.
Yeah, we do that though. We do it now.
Right. No, but the problem is that some different ideologies think differently. They think that if you present something that is opposed to their information, somehow you're attacking them. And this is something we got to stop doing. I mean, over here, it seems like we all get along, obviously. But I'm talking about with the rest of the world, because we're so ruled by political ideology, is some people believe that their beliefs cannot be challenged. I, for one, I'm always open to evolve. So if someone's got different information, I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to research it. And then if it's from professionals and it makes total sense to me, then I'm going to change my view on it. But the key is that we gotta be open to the information. Again, I'm no Alex Jones fan, but the fact of them deplatforming him on Facebook, on YouTube, it goes against your freedom of speech. Again, if it's hateful speech, there's no place for that. But if someone's got some crazy idea, regardless of how crazy it is, we got to let people talk. That's the thing. And again, I'm open to ideas and counter solution or opposing views. I want to hear them. But unfortunately right now, because the world is so divided because of politics, and that's their design, it just doesn't happen that way. So I think through these Zoom presentations, I think this is an excellent education for other people to learn.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you on that, Nick. I think that this is the whole purpose of all us doing what we're doing. We are bringing information and challenging belief systems, because as well as bringing information from different geographical locations, what may work, what may not work. One of the questions I have based on all of this is there a particular mass, and anybody can answer this at some point, but is there a particular mass that is the best mass for this for this pandemic that's going on. We Daniel said, we pretty much buy masks based on what we can afford. So it kind of puts us behind the gun, because of behind the eight ball, because I can't, afford to buy a $40 or $50 mask 2-3 times a week. I don't think, I don't know what nobody else pocketed, but I know I can't afford that. So a lot of us buy what we can afford, which may be those masks that the hospital use, and then we can't buy as many as the hospital have because the hospital are paying for the nurses stuff. That being said, I also want to say that one of the people commented and said that even nurses are dying with the mask. So regardless, and that what leads me back to thinking personally that I think the mask do help, like you're saying, depending on the circumstance. If I'm by myself, what do I need a mask for? But if I'm around some people, yeah, I'm going to put the mask on. And you need to cover your nose if you want to be around some people. But overall, we know that whatever it is real. We definitely, I think we all will agree on that. I guess what I'm trying to do is figure out what would be a good economical way for us to fight this and to challenge this. And I don't think that there's no, like you're saying, Nick, there's no one answer that can say, okay, well, this is the solution to this. I don't think that. I think by trial and error and us getting on here and say, hey, this is what worked for me, maybe good, maybe something that's good. We had one gentleman on here that hasn't commented, and I know that he just recently took a COVID-19 test and it came back negative. Appreciate that. But I would like to hear what his comments on this. Mr. Jones, are you on there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. A lot of interesting comments, a lot of interesting insights. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time. I came prepared tonight to share something that happened within my family. My uncle has a job, and he called in and told his boss he wasn't feeling well. He had a headache. And consequently, his boss asked him to not come to work until he gets a COVID-19 test. So he expressed unhappiness about sharing his true feelings. He has gotten the test, but he hadn't gotten the results yet. And I was just thinking, wow, that's pretty crazy. Or that's, things that are occurring because of this COVID-19. He doesn't think he's a victim. He said he has a headache and he does have high blood pressure. So he wasn't feeling well. And, just a consequence that I wanted to share. I'm happy he wasn't selfish and he did share. But then there's a part of me saying, like you guys are saying, if somebody's healthy, there is no cure for it. There is no, I don't know. That was just something I was chewing on, saying, man, what is the right answer? Because he's not working and he's not getting unemployment due to something else. And what else is going on? Yeah, he's not getting unemployment. And
okay, let me share this with you about this. Let me share this with you about the unemployment. I've learned, and I learned this firsthand. There's a difference between what you're applying for. A lot of us apply for unemployment. That's for job loss, but they have what they call the pandemic unemployment assistance, which is PUA, and that's what you have to apply for in order to get funds based on the COVID-19. When I first, and I learned that because when I first applied for unemployment, what ended up happening was I never got processed. A few people got processed, and I'm going to touch on that, but I never got processed. And then when I went back into the unemployment website, then they had a different thing for me to do as far as the pandemic unemployment assistance. They had me fill out that application. I know someone that actually filled out the previous application and never got their unemployment until they went and filled out the pandemic unemployment assistance forms, and then a couple of days later they got their assistance. So people need to
Derek, I'm gonna share that with him, but I wonder because he hasn't gotten a negative test back. He doesn't even, I wonder, what the criteria for meeting that is. Remember, he hasn't gotten, he's in limbo with regard to the results. I took my test on June 24th, and I got called this afternoon. Today's July 5th. So if I had to wait to return to work, that might have been kind of crazy. And I definitely am not unemployed, but I'm going to tell him tonight to go in and apply, give it a shot. But I wonder if he doesn't have COVID-19.
Okay, but now if he doesn't have that, then he's not going to get that.
Well, he doesn't have results yet.
Okay,
he doesn't have results, so he doesn't have it.
Okay, if you take a test, then what should happen is while you're out waiting on the results of that test, they're preventing you from going to work. So you should get some type of assistance at that point.
Okay.
So just something to shoot by him. But like I said, I personally had to go through the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. They didn't even allow me to file unemployment. My employer, and everybody's circumstances are different, terminated me after a week or two of being out of work. They took me out of the system because I don't know how many people are familiar with Kronos, but Kronos is the payroll system that they use, widely used, and it automatically generates whether you're working or not. As long as you are in that payroll system, it automatically generates vacation time, sick days, holidays pay. You automatically get that. So to prevent them from having to pay me for that little small amount of money, they just terminated us. So when they terminated us, that made me not have a job so I can get unemployment. But prior to them terminating me, I applied for the PUA, and that's what they switched the system to at this point here. So do tell him that. Because he might, as long as he's out, because they asked a question on the PUA assistance: are you not working in relation? Are you not working because of something related to the coronavirus? And he would say yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Appreciate you.
All right. That is I just wanted to share that with you. I want to hear your comment on it. One thing that I did take from everything tonight is that we have to be we have to use our own sound judgment when we are wearing these masks and everything. I would recommend that everybody continue to wear the mask when they're out among public. I would recommend that that people change their masks more often. Economically, when money prevents them to be able to do it. I'm sorry about that. That they change their mask a little bit more often. Nick was giving me some stuff. What the CDC recommends. He was saying the CDC recommended a person removes the face covering once they return home and washes it before using it. So if you can't afford to continuously buy one, then you might want to wash it when you get home. And then he said all masks should be changed if wet or visibly soiled. A wet mask should not be worn for an extended period of time. Either discard the mask or place it in a sealed bag where it can be kept until it can be washed and cleaned. In addition to that, he said there is no evidence indicating that masks increase the wearer's risk of developing pneumonia or other bacterial, viral or fungal lung infections. Then they have some claims out that says that masks can lead to pneumonia or other lung infections, and I can kind of see that because if I have bacteria stuff that's on the mask or it's dirty or whatever, I'm breathing that in. I'm breathing that in. So I need to take care. Not only just putting the mask on my face is enough. I need to take care. I need to take care of my mask. I need to, I'm grooming and treat it as if it's a part of my body because it is an extension of my body, and I'm going to be wearing it often. Now we have some more comments from the people on Facebook. Some of our viewers on Facebook. Ms. Short says she agrees that what we're saying. Ms. Precious Poole is saying, I don't know if you guys are aware, but the cartoon show The Simpsons know what's happening in the world before it happens. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to start watching that there.
That's not even a joke. That's not even a joke. If you guys look at, there's about 20 episodes that actually predict the future. And all I'm going to say is just watch them. They're absolutely astonishing. No, they're absolutely astonishing. So I'll just say that.
Example?
They predicted the World Trade Center.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that the part where Donald Trump is going down the escalator. And he, that. Well, it's. Anyways, I just invite you guys to go look it up yourself.
Gotta watch it. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it up on TV. Okay.
Just know what? For anything, for entertainment purposes only.
Okay.
Hey, excuse me, I want to say something. The Simpsons are not funny. That is a serious thing. And it is very, very, very crazy that they predict everything that's going to happen.
Yes.
Everything that happens, the black president, the coronavirus, the Twin Towers. It's crazy that they predict all this and all this happen. So I don't think it's funny. You know, I think it's kind of something serious that we need to pay attention to.
Yes.
So I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
One point I would make to that is that, you know, the New World Order, or if we call it the cabal, there's a lot of word for it, that they actually, because of their karma, they tell us what they're going to do through the Simpsons and all this other stuff, you know, in the future, because they're so powerful that, you know, and that gets back to the real argument is that 1%, the elites and the billionaires, and then there's everybody else, you know, like Queen Elizabeth, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, you know, who should we really, all of us being poor in the streets about? It's that 1% that, you know, that are controlling us and telling us what our future is. Whether you believe in conspiracy or not, it is that 1%. It's Amazon, you know, and they meet in these meetings that we're not invited to, you know, and they decide what is, you know, the Bilderbergs, and there's a lot of other meetings that none of us, we the people, are not invited to. So I just want to point that out. But, you know, seek the truth, you know, find the truth and share the truth. You know, the truth shall set us free. I love that expression. You know, just let's hold on to the truth.
Okay, Miss Bammer, you said you had a comment?
Yes. I don't know like how many people are actually on Facebook, but I seen it the other day and I shared it on my Facebook. Has anyone seen or came across the thing that they're calling the Braun Trump conspiracy? It was about a book that was written back in the 1800s. And the book was called like Braun Trump or something. What was that?
About Donald Trump becoming president?
And then it's about if you go on Facebook and you search for it, it's the Braun Trump conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like I shared it on my Facebook, but it's like different things about like Donald Trump in this book that was written back in 1863, talking about like a rich man from New York that has a business on like Fifth Avenue is going to be like in charge and like all this crazy stuff. Like
whenever you get that definition, whenever you get information or anybody get information that'd be helpful, I encourage you to always share, because whenever people share stuff, I always share it on my page as well. You know, when it's good information, I try to pass it along, because this is what we try to do. We try to keep everybody abreast of good information and seek the truth. You know, that's what we're about. Right now, I think that, you know, we gathered a few things from this tonight. You know, there's, Nick, I definitely appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone. But Nick, brought up something that kind of answered one of my questions, because I had a personal question, and that's why I'm telling him I appreciate him for answering my personal question. But my question was, was our mask helpful? You know, and from what I see, what I get, what I gather, it's helpful in situations, and that they are needed for, but it requires us to play a part in this as well, as far as washing them, changing them, doing what we can do, because everybody can't afford to buy a mask that we can wear for 12 hours, 14 hours, so or buy masks all the time. So we need to make sure that we maintain the ones that we have. Also, again, if you can't, going back into the money aspect, you don't need a mask if you're by yourself, because everybody on this show is sitting in there except for Mammy, and you have one on because you're at work. But everybody on the show that's sitting in front of us are at home, and nobody has a mask on because they don't feel like they need one. So you don't need one when you're out by yourself. If I'm riding in the car, and it was funny because somebody said you ride down the street, you see everybody with masks on in their cars by themselves, with the windows rolled up and the AC on.
Yeah.
So it kind of like wasting money a little bit. We got to be a little bit more economical in the situation. But again, so the COVID-19, I definitely feel like it's real. And we need to continue to take these precautions that we're actually taking. So I would encourage people to continue to do that. I wouldn't ask somebody to get lax. If you can, I would encourage you to stay home, or be selective in the people that you go around, because it's out there. They opened up Florida. They opened up a lot of places, and I think Texas is one of them. That the cases skyrocketed. I know that for the last couple of days, Florida has 10,000 new cases a day. But they were opening up, and I don't think they opened up because of our health. I don't think they opened up because of our safety. I think they opened up because they wanted to stimulate the economy. And when we look at our president, that's what he is. He's a businessman. So business comes first with that gentleman. So we have to always keep that in mind, and our health and our safety should come first for us. So that's
Right.
something that he doesn't control. So we have to make sure that we do that. Take care of ourselves and do what we have to do. You know, with that being said, I'm going to kind of like close out a little bit. I definitely enjoy it. Very enlightening. As you heard, there's different people that have different things. I want to thank everybody that actually viewed it on Facebook. Thank you for taking your time out to come on with us. Give us some of your time. Nick, I definitely appreciate you coming, Daniel. I would like you two gentlemen to give a shout out about the different organizations that you are and your shows that you have. So can we tune into those as well as grab information in that as well. I'm gonna start with Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for inviting me on. Thanks, Daniel. Again, Daniel and I are work together a lot. Of course, Daniel's got his E-Town Hall YouTube channel. I got my YouTube channel called Storm is Here. But more importantly, me and Daniel and many others, these discussions are great, or they really are, because they really bring people together, which we need. And everybody's acting civilly here, which is fantastic. But more importantly, I think we really got to work on the mechanism on how we can get, things like single payer, and of course, free tuition and all these other great ideas out there or implemented. So basically, I'm working on a system of direct democracy. I know Maurice was there at our last meeting, and Daniel, of course, so basically, that's what we're pushing for. We're pushing for direct democracy, where everybody has a say on the issue. Thank you.
I definitely appreciate that. So I see that Daniel has put his contact information up. My contact information is thereinventioncenter.org. I'm going to put that in the message for everyone. And as well, I ask that Sippy, that you, Maurice Clifton, that you do the same. And anybody that has an organization or anything that they have or any podcast, I ask that you put it in the chat for everyone to see it. So we can continue to do what we're doing, which is sharing information. Before we close out, is there any comments or anything that anybody would like to add in regards to these masks?
I just want to add something too that can really be helpful, that it just dawned on me to do, and I just started doing it recently on these Tuesday night meetings. I encourage people at the very beginning, and I'm going to start doing this on all the calls. It's all about self-promotion, because we are a group of advocates, activists all over the world, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ rights. The intention of this group is to come together, and the common thread is bringing power to the people. Power to the people. But I want to thank you, James, for this awesome show, for inviting me and tonight. And we just invite everyone to attend this We the People show. Really, I look at the show that we do every Tuesday night as an extension of the show that you have, James, and Maurice, and many others, and Nick. It's exciting to bring more people, hear more voices. Not only our voices are not being heard, but also our votes. And then even if votes are cast, they're not being implemented. So our voices, our votes, and our implementation of that, it's all being ignored, right now by all, the corrupt Democrat and the corrupt Republican Party. We come together when we realize that I haven't voted in a long time. I haven't voted in like 8 years. And I haven't seen any. And part of it was because I've had some homeless experiences that I wasn't able to get to voting. But I just want to, leave everything, that let's go question everything and look at, whatever subject matter experts they tell us, what's best for our friends and families, our country and internationally. Let's do this ultimate filter. It just dawned on me recently, because I'm an author. I wrote a book called Looking Glass Shattered on Amazon. I've been a deep thinker and an activist really my whole life, but let's look at everything as a friend or a foe. I kind of like that as the ultimate filter, whether it's a mask or what's going on with our prisons. Is it a friend or a foe? And I've had some great interviews with like Holly Coleman and Maurice and James, that really right now, our prisons are our foe. They're our enemy. They're not doing what they're supposed to do about rehabilitation, reform, and helping people be successful. And along that lines is the halfway houses are also our enemy. You know, the halfway houses are horrible, and our homeless shelters are horrible. So, you know, let's go as an ultimate filter for no matter what is being crammed down our throats. You know, is it a friend or a foe? So I kind of like that kind of idea. And, you know, follow the money trail. Is this going to help stock markets and the corrupt corporations, or is it going to help Main Street? You know, follow the money trail. So I think overall, the filter of the groups that ongoing groups is, you know, how do we alleviate suffering? You know, how do we increase compassion? And how do we help more people go from struggling and suffering to thriving? So, you know, to reach all their needs like food, clothing, shelter, love, a sense of community. You know, these are kind of like the bigger filters of all these ideas and thoughts, and, you know, trying to, you know, really just seeing everything. Is it a friend or a foe, or is it a true friend, or is it a true foe? And I think that's just an interesting kind of overlook for all these issues, including COVID, masks, you know, on and on and on. So thank you very much.
No problem. So I'm taking it that everybody hopefully has put up their information, contact information as far as how they can be contacted, so everyone can see it. I put it up on here. I'm actually posting it on Facebook as well for the viewers that's on Facebook. That is a number that you can call at any time, and you can get direct access to me. My website is thereinventioncenter.com. .org. I'm sorry. I'm actually putting that on there as well. So
one more, just real quick thing, James. One thing I just discovered you can do, if you click on the very last chat, when the meeting's about to go out, hit the Control A key and then the Control C, which covers all of it. And so what I'm going to start doing, because, you know, right now we don't have an administrator to help us with like meeting notes and stuff like that, and, you know, self-promotion. Right now we have about 30 people on that Tuesday night call. And so what I'm doing is just shooting that out to all the people in an email. We've got an email list that's growing all the time. So if anybody wants to be on there, if you don't want to be, you know, that's fine too. But anyway, I just figured that out recently. I just thought that was a really helpful thing, because it's kind of, in a way, it's a meeting notes without having to hire an administrator to, you know, to sit there and type out, you know, everything that people are talking about and stuff. You know, you see what I'm saying? So
I definitely appreciate it. But one of the things I also want to share to people that doesn't use Zoom or don't use this platform as their broadcast, I record this, even though it's live. I have the option to be able to record it, and it automatically it records all of the chats and everything. So anytime that anybody puts some information on here, I always go back and I always go back and look at it and stuff like that because it's important that we keep each other's contacts and we continue to do what we're doing. That is very, very important.
Can I say thank you so much? I look forward to this every Sunday. I'm just so grateful that you have such good topics and great people. And I love that there's another Canadian. So thank you.
It's no problem. It's not only me that do this, though. I can't, but you know, I don't want to take the credit for everything, you know, because you know myself and you all, everybody. Maurice Clifton definitely plays a major part in helping me cultivate everything. But you know, we can't have this show without you know, all of us being here. You know.
Yeah, I think we could talk all night if we really had the time. I bet we could.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, we're not gonna try this time.
I definitely agree with that one. So with that being said, what we're gonna do, we're gonna wrap this up again. Thank everybody. I have put the contact information on Facebook, and it is as well on here. So feel free to contact me if you have any questions outside of anything that's dealing with reentry or any questions. If you just want to talk about something, want to bounce something off somebody, I am here. You know, again, that number is directly to me, you know, so you don't have to worry about it. I will be the one to answer the phone, you know, so definitely appreciate you. And with that, we're going to close tonight. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you next Sunday.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Take care, brother.
Bye, James. Thank
Bye.
you.
No
Yeah.
Bye,
problem.
James. Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.